Hi, this is Jono, and today we're talking about bloom. I'm so excited to talk about this sequencer because I don't think anything like this has been done. This is a fractal sequencer, and today we're going to demystify some of what that means. This is a fractal sequencer that's capable of generating infinitely evolving melodies with a host of very interesting and fun musical features. Fractal sequencing generates variations on a sequence using complex fractal algorithms, keeping the variations similar to your original idea while blooming new creative ideas. Okay, we'll get more into that, but first I just want to keep it basic and we're just going to get started with bloom. Okay, we have two 32-step channels with individual CV and gate outs for each channel. So these are the trunk sequences, or the main sequence lines that bloom uses to generate its fractal algorithms, or branches. Branches determines how many alternate sequences are generated from the main sequence, between 1 and 7 possible branches to add to the main sequence. Paths determine which path through the branches bloom takes, leading it to different variations of each branch. Stay with me here. So the amount of paths available is determined by how many branches are available. For example, one branch would have 2 paths available. 4 branches has 16 paths available. So at the maximum, 7 branches would have 128 paths available. Mutation permanently changes all of the notes in the trunk sequence. When the knob is fully counterclockwise, there's no mutation happening, right? But when the knob is fully clockwise, there's a 100% chance that the next step's CV value will change. One thing so great is you can recall the last saved sequence for your channel after mutation by holding Shift and hitting reset. So you've made a whole bunch of changes here to the note values, and you can easily reset. The root note right here changes the root note diatonically across 5 octaves and varies based on the chosen scale. We'll talk about that in the next video. The channel button right here switches between Bloom's 2 channels. Channel 1 is blue, channel 2 is green. One thing to note that's super useful is that when you change between channels, your changes are saved. And these saved settings are persistent between power cycles. So each channel, channel 1 and 2, have independent settings for root, for paths, for branches, and for mutation, as well as shift settings for all of these. And we'll get into those in the next video also. Holding the channel button for 3 seconds goes into the global channel editor, where all the changes to root, to paths, to branches, and mutations affect both channels. But remember that CV input will only affect the chosen channel, which you're on. Clock rate is the speed which Bloom advances its sequences, and is always a global setting. But when the rate knob is fully counterclockwise, clock is off, you see it's not moving, and it will now receive an external clock source. When the rate knob is fully clockwise, then clock is at audio rate. All right, let's have a little bit of fun with a super simple patch which I built out here. So today our voice is chord, and we're just coming out of the root note of chord into cascade that we're going to use as a VCA and an envelope. So I'm coming out of chord, root note into VCA in, and out of the VCA into our mixer. We're triggering the envelope in cascade out of Bloom, channel 1, gate 1 here, into the trigger in. And then we're coming out also of channel 1 of Bloom, volt per octave, into the volt per octave of chord. So with nothing adjusted in Bloom, it sounds like this. So you can see that we're hitting all 8 steps of page 1. Remember, this is a 32-step sequencer, so you can adjust the pattern length by holding Shift and then adjusting length. So I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to turn this down to just 4 steps. So now you can see it hitting 4 steps here. So the way which I adjust the volt per octave information for these steps is just to rotate these encoders. Remember, the quick way to save this is to just go to channel 2, then back to channel 1. We can get into how to save this pattern in the next video with all the shift combinations, but right now this is the quickest way to learn how to save those channels out. We can turn on and off steps. Just by pushing them in and clicking them. So now I'm going to take branches here and just turn it up just a little bit. Then I'm going to turn up path just a little bit here. You can see the level of path which I'm turning up here. So path determines the path that you take through the generated branches. So think of it like a fork in the road, where path helps you determine which direction you're taking on that branch. So now I'll turn down paths and branches, and you'll see that we'll return to the original sequence that I had. So once again, I can save that by going into channel 2, then back into channel 1. We'll talk about mutate here now. So mutation controls the amount of variation introduced into the original trunk sequence. And remember, this is a destructive control, and it replaces the manually programmed sequence, which I have here. So I'm gonna turn up mutate here just enough so that every once in a while our notes change. There's a low probability to that change. There you go. Now I'm going to go halfway here. See it grow there. So now I'll go all the way up. You can see the lights grow there. So this is fully mutating now. But remember that this is destructive, so like a Turing machine, I can quickly turn this left and lock this loop I've got. So I've got mutation turned all the way down, but it's not my original sequence. I've got a new loop now. I can come back up, grab something different, and then come back down and lock it. But if I want to return to that original 4, which I had, I can hold Shift and reset. And there we go. So let's incorporate everything. We've got our 4-note sequence going. We can play with the root note. I like taking a smooth random from something like Chance here. You can maybe see it moving really smoothly and slowly here. Let's just attenuate that down a little bit more. And then we can start to just adjust everything here. So we'll introduce some branches. And then path. And then mutation. And turn off some steps here and there. I'm going to pull out the root note here. Thanks so much for watching, and make sure you see the next videos in our Bloom series where we go deeper with this wonderful sequencer. And the best way to make sure you don't miss out on future releases on our YouTube channel is to subscribe to the channel and hit the little notification bell so you get alerted when we release something new. All right, see you next time.